Ooh, that really felt like he was talking to me. How intense. Wow. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited because I got something in store for you, which is I'm going to be taking a look at ReN's The Tale of Jenny and Screech trilogy. Learning more about ReN has been so fun and so interesting, and I'm so glad that I did that reaction to Hi ReN. If you haven't checked that out yet, feel free to do so. I had a great time. It was my first time engaging with anything by him, to be honest. And so, again, I'm going into this video fresh. I haven't seen it yet. And I love engaging with videos like this for the first time. So, if you're new here, my name is Manon. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer director, and I love taking a look at videos from like the cinematic, videographic sort of perspective. So we talk about what actually goes into making these videos and why they work so well in combination with the music. And that's something that I think ReN has been doing really well. People are really impressed with his the music, but also the videos. And that's something that I learned is we had this whole debate about whether or not it was a single take on the previous video. And there was some confusion for me because when people talk about single take, I think about the film and shooting it video. However, what I learned is that when people were talking about that, they were basically talking about him recording the music live during the video shoot, which was just like, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think that it was possible because that's not usually how we shoot music videos. So my mind was just blown. He's actually performing the songs or tales, he's more of a bard, I would say, rather than a straight up rapper so I thought that was just shooting a video is already hard. And then you're adding that on top of everything else. Wild. So obviously just really, really impressed with his work. So without further ado, let's get into Jenny's tale.
It was a quiet, dark night in an empty street somewhere in London City. Jenny walked alone, she was dragging her feet. She was heading back home to sleep. Well, she knew this town, she knew this floor, because she walked it about 1,000 times before she wanted to escape. Can you blame? Well, on the very same night, in a different place, there walked this hooded young youth by the name of James. He was 14 years old and out of his brain, he'd been smoking ganja with the boys. James, he grew up to be a kid of the street. His mates called him Screech, he was quick on his feet. He was a liar, a thief, at 14 years old, the devil had set his sights on his soul. As Jenny walked home all alone, she felt scared. Usually she was alright, but it was like there was something in the air. A divine intervention telling her to beware, maybe intuition bugging her and making her so scared. Sirens sound in the distance to the beat of Jenny's feet. A symphony of the night that echoes crime on London streets. Jenny turns a corner, their eyes they meet. Up or go Jenny, a boy named Screech. Give me all your money, bitch, give it to me. If you cooperate, then you'll soon be free. I want your purse, your phone, don't fucking look at me. I mean it, bitch, are you listening to me? Jenny frees his statue like a lady shakes.
Ooh, that really felt like he was talking to me. Um, how intense. Wow. We're already 2 minutes in. Usually I pause it after like a minute, but he is such a storyteller. It almost feels rude to interrupt the story, if that makes sense. Like, I want to know where it's headed. Let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing, shall we? So we open on a real close-up. Like, we're really close on the guitar here. and he's sort of like getting started. We slowly zoom out because the camera person is walking backwards. And obviously this is the one shot or, long take video where it's just one camera person following him for all of the song. Usually we're used to, quick cuts in music videos or, even movies and TV. They're definitely like there's so few single takes or one takes or however you want to call them, but it's a continuous shot of just him being followed with the camera. There's no cuts so far anyway that I could see. And really nicely done. And I think that's only also possible because he's performing the whole thing in one go, which again is just so unusual. So I'm guessing that Samuel is our videographer. So great job to him. That's really great. And so when he steps back from this wall, we actually hear some of his clothes rustle. So good indicator that, he's actually performing this live. I feel like his outfit is particularly well fitting to the environment with all the graffiti and stuff. He's like equally colorful, so he really blends in well. And I think that's really a nice touch. And just in general, like I love this environment. He's just in an alleyway here performing, his heart out. And he's such an expressive performer as well, like in the voice. And again, he is telling us a story. He is like really leading us, like pulling us in with his story. And it's wonderful. It's so minimalist, which is also quite unusual. It's such an interesting musical style, I think, that he has. And the videos kind of go with that too. So what I do think is that, from a technical perspective, it was probably pretty dark when they shot this. And I think what we're seeing here is actually brighter than what it was in reality. And I noticed that particularly here, where you can see a certain grain on him and on his face. That's an indication of ISO grain, which usually means that, the camera had to bump up the ISO, which is a setting to make it brighter, which you use at night. A downside of that is that your footage becomes more grainy. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily. Some people really even like that look because it's a bit more reminiscent of like old film. It's just an indication that probably they had to brighten this also considerably in editing it. So in the color grading, etc., I also think that, they bumped up some of the saturation because it is so colorful. So it's also fairly warm toned. And so all of these cooler lights really stand out, which add like a beautiful sheen here. And I do think that the lighting in this alley is really beautiful anyway. Like it is well lit, but also sort of like it gives it real depth because we have this bright light here, and then we have a really, really dark patch, and then there's another light here from this, I don't know, cargo bay or something. And it looks really beautiful. And so they did a great job selecting this location for this video. And I know that they are a little guerrilla style in how they make their films, in how they make their music videos. So very good choice. Anyway, this moment also, I love how, what I do think is that even though it was shot in, uh, uh, just in one go, they must have rehearsed it a couple times and found interesting angles for each of these moments in the music because it has such a beautiful progression, not just in his song, but also in how the camera is placed. And obviously, this moment where he's specifically like speaking at us, he is, I feel like Samuel, whom I'm assuming is operating the camera here, actually got down from him a little bit. Like he may have gotten down on a knee or something, but the angle has changed. Like we were looking at him from eye height before, and now we're lower and he's talking down at us a little bit. So that's one of the reasons why it feels like he is so speaking to us directly. Obviously, he's also pointing at the camera, but also the angle helps with that too. All right, let's continue watching.
You listening to me? Jenny freezes statue like a lady shakes stalactite. Feel like liquid nitrogen in the dark night. She tried to find strength to move, but stayed as still as a statue in high-heeled shoes. What the hell you playing at? You playing games with me? I swear to fucking God, I'll slice the rosy off your cheeks. You think I don't mean it, girl? You don't know me. The last thing you see will be a boy code. Screech reached with the sheath of the blade, with the teeth that could bite through steel and slice concrete, and he swung possessed with the devil in his chest, and the statue she was turned to butter in her breath. It was a quiet dark night in an empty street somewhere in London City. Jenny lay still on the cold concrete. She's found somewhere to sleep. Well, she knew this town, she knew this floor, 'cause she'd walked here about 1,000 times before. I guess that she escaped. It's such a shame.
Oh, that was just lovely. What a great song and great piece of music, great story that he tells. And just can you imagine that that's the alley behind your house and all of a sudden you got REN performing like a couple times just like going through this street back and forth and doing a couple rehearsals and shooting the real thing and then quickly being out of there? That must have been something. Also, I wanted to point out there's a couple moments where they really use their environment to its full potential. They've, as I said, like they've probably walked this alley a couple times, and it all seems like it's very casual, but you can tell a lot of thought went into it because here we have this face, which is kind of looking creepy, which is adding to the vibe. And then later, he pauses right by this one with the hearts and the girl on the swing. And I felt like that fit the song so well. And so it feels really intentional and they're really engaging with the environment as much as possible. So really, really beautiful and just very, I don't know, in tune, you know what I mean? With the environment, not just the song too. You could tell that it's a live performance. I felt so more so even than with ReN, where here I could hear the rustle in his jacket as well as some noise from the environment. And that to me is just, yeah, many, many kudos to him. And like, wouldn't it be easier to just sing along to the studio version and just perform it while you're shooting rather than recording it live there? To me, it would seem so. Like, it also seems like this would need a whole lot more post-production on the sound. So it's definitely a choice to make it harder than it would strictly need to be, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just really impressed, and I'm really looking forward to looking at the second part to this. I'm really excited. We're gonna check out the second part of ReN's The Tale of Jenny and Screech trilogy today. Feel free to join us in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, things I've missed, things you're enjoying. Let me know what your favorite video of ReN's is. We're also on Discord if you want to hang out a bit more. So join the community over there. You can find all of that information in the description below. Without further ado, though, let's get into part 2 of the trilogy, Screech's Tale.
starts right at the end. At the life of poor Jenny, clocked out like Big Ben. Dear Screech, dear boy, where did he go? He melted into the black night just like snow. Patrick, man, let me in, please open the door. I think I fucked up, Patrick, really fucked up, man, I'm not sure. I got crazy, left this lady lying still on the floor. I think I killed her, Patrick, come on, man, I can't knock no more. But Screech kept on knocking till his knuckles became sore. But there's no sign of Patrick down at number 54. No refuge for our villain, for the bitter hands of fate, with something far more sinister in mind that does away. Hey, babe, are you in? Nah, nothing really, I'm just a bit tired, listen. Can I swing around yours for a few moments? I just really miss you, babe. What the fuck do you mean you're busy? You fucking bitch, for fuck's sakes! Siren sounds approaching.
Wow. Again, like I'm completely sucked in. Normally I pause it after like a minute. It's almost like a theater performance, isn't it? Like he's just telling a story, and I'm just again just blown away by this being live, right? He's recording it live. It's a one take, one shot situation where Samuel with the camera is just following him. Really impressive. Again, beautiful lights here from this alley. It might be close to the other alley where this was shot. It looks very similar. Again, beautiful street art. This all feels a little bit more warm toned. I think they toned this in the color grade in post-production. They made it a little bit more yellow toned than the other one. I also think that it was definitely a little darker in this alley because it's a little less easy to see him. He's a bit, enshrouded in the dark, which makes sense because he's telling the story of the villain now, right? And I love that he has a different coat on now too, with the star really stands out, yet still really blends in with his environment too. And the knocking on the guitar, that was very cool. Loved all of the really colorful stuff in the background. And it's so visually intriguing, and the way that he's performing, and then he takes out his phone, which was so unexpected too. That's what made it so theatrical to me. And again, like there's so much emoting going on. He is a great performer. And yeah, I feel so drawn in. Wonderful. There are some beautiful shots here also. It's like, even though, I know that they go in sort of guerrilla style, they don't necessarily get permission to shoot at these places, yet they're still really able to make the most of their environment and the lights that they have, because unlike ReN, where they did have some lights, I doubt that they placed lights in these alleyways. So they're just using the light that the environment provides. And so these are really dark shots. Like they're so dark that we can barely even see his hands here. The guitar is almost fully obscured. Yet what we do have is he's beautifully lit by a light that's coming from up here somewhere. And that gives him this beautiful sort of silhouette and this beautiful outline. And it's almost a little bit angelic in a way. Yeah, those would be the lights that I'm talking about. Like these are just casting an ever so slight glow on him. And there must be some really almost reddish lights in the back here. This is really quite red. And it's possible that the light that they worked with was this red, or it was a more yellow toned light that they actually turned more reddish in the color grade. I'm not sure though, because I don't think we see this light. Ah, we do. Okay, so this is the light that I'm talking about here. So it's a street light, And obviously you can see that it's not actually that red. So I think it's a street light that's just casting like a warm toned yellowish glow on this beautiful colorful environment. And I think that they must have graded that to be a slightly more red again to emphasize on the villain part of the story. And it works really well.
Siren sounds approaching like a banshee in the night. The shrill cry of justice cutting like the sharpest knife. But Screech was never one to run, not one to miss a fight. One hand upon his blade, he turned to face the blue lights. Come on then, you fucking cunts, let's fucking have you then. I am Screech, I'm the boss, I'm the ender of men. You think that uniform you're wearing means that you own these streets? These are my fucking streets, and they call me fucking Screech. Richard was an officer who stood at 6'3", working London on the night shift. What he didn't think he'd see was a boy running at him like an animal possessed. With no time to hesitate, he fired 4 bullets at Screech's chest. Our story, it ends right at the start. Young Screech and poor Jenny lying one street apart. An officer shaken by the boy that he claimed. 2 bodies lay lifeless, and it's such a shame. It's such a shame.
Wow. That's it. Wow. I'm just processing for a moment. What a storyteller. Oh, beautiful. So we have this story and this guy by the end, the way that he points his guitar at the camera and then shoots it, right? Shoots it. And then he does this, and then the camera also moves as if it's being hit, and then it falls, and then we have this beautiful angle, and ReN closes into us, gets down, fills the whole screen, and again, it feels so intentional and definitely rehearsed. The thing is, I know that they do this guerrilla style, as I said, it's like they go to these places in public, don't necessarily get the permits that you might need as a filmmaker. And then, as I said in the last one too, can you imagine this being close to where you live and that you have like ReN singing, like he is shouting at some of these, at some points during this video and this song, and you're not exactly incognito, if that makes sense. I can imagine how they would do this, like how they rehearse is a little bit more covert, where he's not actually singing or maybe whispering singing, and then they only reserve like the full out singing with the guitar and all of that full on for the final try for when they're actually shooting it. If again, they did this in one go and didn't have multiple tries to do this, although I can imagine that they would record this 3 or 4 times and then they pick the one that they like best, which I think is also what happened for ReN. So really beautiful. And again, I love that he is so obscured here, so dark, with again this really red cast. And so I definitely think that they amplified that in the grade to make him look more evil, more sinister, and it's just really stunning. What a great job. And just all the lights here are beautiful too. It's like we have this really warm toned here. We have the more cool toned, almost greenish light here, and he's positioned perfectly between the two. And you can just tell that it's so intentional, and they kind of do the same thing here where he gets closer and he is basically talking down to us again. It just feels so beautifully choreographed. The his movement with Samuel as the camera person, and I just think that's really, really, really beautifully done, and what a performance. What a great video. I'm really enjoying also the way that he is, composing the guitar pieces along with the spoken word, if you will. The song, it's just very, very enjoyable. Let me know what you think and what your thoughts are on the video specifically. If there's anything that you think I missed, I may have. I don't know that much about how it was made, so if you know anything about that, let me know. Anyway, I'm really enjoying exploring more of ReN. We have one more to go, which is Violet's Tale. This has just been a joy, and I'm so excited to share the third part of the tale of Jenny and Screech with you, which is Violet's Tale, and I'm really excited to dive into it. So let's do it.
London City, far from pretty, 2005. A lady down in Paddington is fighting just to stay alive. Rhythmic beeps and bloodstains, she saw a lady weep. She's tired and frail. To set the scene, we must rewind the hands of time for Violet's tale.
Before we get too deep into it, because I know I'm going to be sucked in again, and we just had this smooth transition to the body of Violet's tale, right? Um, what an interesting new setting. We're in a hospital. We open on the beeping of like a heart monitor, and I wonder where this was shot. It doesn't look like a modern hospital. I wonder if maybe for this one they did a little bit more set building. He's in this hospital gown, which looks very similar to the one he was wearing in High ReN. Again, I'm completely just drawn in by him and the way that he builds these stories in the song and the camera work. Again, they do a great job of choreographing this sort of dance of focusing on him and then pulling slightly back when he pulls back in the story. Really beautiful. And the light here is quite garish, like it's very sparse, all natural, and I mean, like they didn't add too many lights in the room either. It's not traditionally lit, is what I'm saying. It's like normally you would in a TV show or movie or most other music videos, like they make sure that the face is properly lit. His usually isn't. And that's quite interesting. Regardless, though, like you can tell that he is such a great performer. He is really embodying that anxiety and the fear, and really as if he's sort of scared of this environment. And that is part of what draws you in so much, I think, is he's really not just like a great singer and a great like musical performer, but also his acting is really, really good. And it's impressive because normally you, especially for like a music video performance, and we talked a little bit about this in my video for Powerwolf's Sinners of the Seven Seas, where they talk about overacting for music videos. You have to act a little bit bigger. Now, those guys were like really actively directed by a director in the music video. Here, though, because he and Sam are doing these single takes, really long takes of just doing the whole song in one go, and singing as well. Like there's no room for active directing of ReN while he's performing. So again, I do think that they rehearse beforehand, but it feels very natural for him. It feels like that is something that he's just naturally inclined to do, is to really also use his body and how he's singing and telling this song. And perhaps for on stage, it would read as quite small, like the emoting, but because we spend so much time up close with him, it reads very natural and really good. So yeah, let's continue watching.
Violet was a silent girl, grew up with violent starts. Her mother was a drinker and her father was a bastard. Every night he took her tie but never left the room. I'll spare you with the things he did, I'm sure her mother knew. Violet was a silent girl, she moved out at 16. A semi-detached council flat, paid for by a welfare scheme. Packing shelves at Tesco, stacking jars like pickled bricks. She met a boy named Stevie and he was a little prick. Violet was a silent girl and Violet she fell fast. See, Stevie was a wrong un, but he sure knew how to charm her. Every night he took her tie but never left the room. History repeats itself, he'd paint her black and blue and dark. She never stood a chance. The devil comes to dance. Violet, why are you always so quiet? On her bedroom door and he's irate. He's been drinking and smoking, he's up late. And he stands by her bedside, she shakes, but her eyes stay shut. You fucking slut, I know you're up. And he pinches her eyelids and folds them up. Violet, why are you lying to me, Violet? She stays silent, things turn violent. That's the sound.
Wow. Oh, there was so much. Okay, so it looks like it is actually a hospital or like a private clinic or something. Because obviously he exits this room and then he walks through the hallway, which looks like very clinical. And I love this shot, like where he's just standing there in all these white walls with just a couple of these, printouts here on the wall, like these signs. And then, I love this staircase. It feels so ominous, just leading up to some sort of unknown darkness. And that's really, really beautiful. And again, he knocks on his guitar to knock on the door here. And like, this is what I mean. He's got such an expressive face. Just wonderful, like so intense. It's like when he's performing these darker moments, like with Screech as well, where he was really playing the villain, right? So he is able to present himself and his performance and his body and really embody that vibe. Just sublime. And now we've moved outward. And this is really interesting because camera-wise, what's happening here is that Samuel is a little bit too close to him, which is why he is going in and out of focus, which actually quite helps. Like the every lens has a focal length. And so that means that the lens won't be sharp on an object until you're a certain amount of distance away from the lens. And I think that he came too close, which is why he goes in and out of focus. And it's really interesting and it really works for the story that he's telling here because it's really kind of creepy, isn't it? So it sort of feels natural. So let's go.
Eyelids and folds them up. Violet, why are you lying to me, Violet? She stays silent, things turn violent. That's the sound of his fists when they fall like a crashing pilot. Hit like hailstones, one to the collarbone, full force, full blown, blood's black bone, crack, knick, knack, paddywhack, one to the jaw when the tooth spat, detached fist connects and disconnects a bone. A quick deflect to misdirect the blow, but nonetheless his punches met her throat. Such a mess he's left her bruised and broke. Violet, why you always so silent, Violet? Why you such a little liar, Violet? Do you think I want to do this, Violet? In character, she stays silent. Well, say something, Violet. Silence. Fucking say something, Violet. Silence. Wait. Say something, Violet. Not one word. She stays quiet. London City, far from pretty, 2005. A lady down in Paddington is fighting just to stay alive. The doctor, in a state of shock, saw something here so very wrong. See, Violet, she was pregnant. Poor Violet, she was 9 months gone. Turning to the doctor, Violet broke her silence and she cried, if I'm to die right here tonight, please let my baby stay alive. The doctor soon regained composure, called the surgeon to come in. As Violet's world turned to black, the curtains closed, the lights went dim. In London City, far from pretty, 2005. A lady down in Paddington just lost the fight to stay alive. A tragedy or a miracle, it happened on these very streets. Two twins aligned side by side. A girl named Jenny and a boy named Screech.
Oh, that was it? I wish it was longer. It felt like there was more. Man, oh, that was beautiful. And so he walks out of the hospital. Through these streets, and again, all these beautiful lights and his performance, and I don't have that much more to add. It's like and he appears then and it turns out he walks into the town. I don't know if this is actually Paddington, but it's a beautiful environment, and obviously it must be late at night because there's absolutely no one else in the streets. And then this here, I love the lighting here. I don't know where this super green light is coming from, but again, they must have chosen this to stop him there and sing the last part because it is such a good looking environment. So again, it's like this really, really reddish yellow, which is sort of same tone as the previous video, the Screech one. And then we have this beautiful light, sort of blue, this sort of blue-green light coming from in front of him. And so it's really casting him in this almost, I don't know, it feels a little bit like the Joker in this. Like again, a little bit like a villain. And him walking around in his socks. I was thinking about that as he was walking. I was like, I hope there's no glass. Because you know how alleys in cities are, especially these areas by pubs and stuff. Wow. What a stunning, stunning video. I really enjoyed this very, very much. And I think I am going to cover more of his going forward. Like, definitely keep me posted if there's new videos that come out, because I would love to kind of keep up with him and see how he's doing. I know that his health isn't great. I think that's an understatement. He's been really struggling, and I hope he's doing better, because I hope that he'll be successful with all of his music stuff going forward. And I hope that perhaps, in the future, he'll have more money and bigger budgets to do these music videos. And I can only imagine the creative stuff that they're going to come up with. So, really wishing him all of the best. And selfishly, I hope he'll be making music for a very long time. So, yeah. Anyway, if you want to join the conversation about ReN and his beautiful music videos, join us in the comments, or even better, join us on Discord. I also have a Patreon that you can go to and check out. My supporters get early access to my videos, as well as some other special privileges on Discord, where you get to request reactions. I also stream on Twitch from time to time. So if that's what you're into, live reactions on there, you can join me and we can watch together. Anyway, this was so much fun. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I hope I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Violet was a silent girl, grew up with violent starts. Her mother was a drinker and her father was a bastard. Every night he took a tie but never left the room. I'll spare you with the things he did, I'm sure her mother knew. Violet was a